and you shall receive. I wanted to see Darkness Galactica Oblivion return, but I certainly wasn't expecting it to return like this. What a great episode. Hello everyone and welcome to Dueling with Downton, and today we're talking all things episode 115 of the Yugioh Go Rush anime series. And this episode was a great episode for giving us a small explanation for Yumu's disappearance and her actions, for Kaido returning, and setting ourselves up for the next arc. So let's get into all of that. So I want to start off by talking about Kaido's return, as this was great for both himself and Yudias. Now they explained that the Vulgarians get revived after Dynamo multiplies by 8 different times. But for Kaido, that rule is different, as he fused himself with Yudias before disappearing. And I loved how this kind of linked to the phrase, we all have a little bit of darkness within us. And for Yudias, Kaido is that said darkness. And this is reinforced with the link between Darkness Galactica Oblivion and Dark Dwarf that Yudias once used / has. But what I really also loved about Kaido's return was the link to his character that calls back to the spoken words that he said to Yudias, where he said, "Be aware of the Odos." Now at first we all thought this was referring to Yugioh, but now, in hindsight, we know it was referring to everybody of the Odo family. Especially considering that now Yuki has joined the Dark Matter Empire. But why was Kaido's return good for Yudias? Well, that's more of a future character development opportunity type of situation. As we saw Yudias in this episode wavering / hesitating. He couldn't destroy the Dark Matter Empire in order to save his own people. Now this isn't anything new from Yudias, because we saw in episode 2 of the show him struggling with the idea of sacrificing others for his personal gain. Now granted, this example in episode 2 was him sacrificing his own monsters, and the Dark Men are physical life forms, so I get that the risk to reward ratio is a lot different and more impactful, but at the same time, Yudias has been a character that has struggled with sacrifice before. But all of this would mean that we will be getting some character development for Yudias as he battles with his goals, ideals, and conflict. Now then, Yumu. This episode really did her character justice, as she sinks further and further into her role of Otis. This episode really did well in showing her resolve, yet highlighting her weaknesses, which are her memories and her bonds that she has created with everybody that we know she's crossed paths with so far. If she really wants to become Otis, she needs to not be weighed down by those feelings and those memories. All of this does kind of link back to one specific thing that is also tied to the Odos, tied to Otis, tied to the future and to Goha, that being Monster Reborn. After all, we know the Monster Reborn has memory manipulation. And it was said that the Monster Reborn that we saw at the end of Arc 2, or Season 2, sorry, was in one of the curry buns that was on Vala Valgir, which is why the Dark Meister wanted that particular item. I do like how we get these parallels with from both Yumu's and our heroes' experience. They're being very similar, yet having different results thanks to the other elements that are involved. Seeing how Yumu had to endure being thrown around and having her stamina drained for weeks on end, to the point where she started to give up hope and not care about anything anymore. Seeing her go mad eating curry bread and udon repeatedly, she endured a lot of suffering and loneliness. And this was brilliant, as it gives her a little bit more experience. We know that she understood the sadness, loneliness, and pain that Yugioh had to endure and suffer being in an unknown time with none of his friends around him. So it was great seeing Yumu experience just a fraction of what Yugioh actually had to go through. But then back to comparing her experience with the space cruise, the theme of loneliness is the key factor here, as Yumu was alone. She had little hope of anyone finding / saving her. and her only salvation were the Dark Men, which she at first created by accident. Going back to the desire for Monster Reborn, and why this links to loneliness, Yumu wants to become Otis, which means leaving everyone and everything behind, isolating herself from everyone, cutting her ties and bonds, making it so that pain isn't around anymore. But it's not just for her sake. She's doing it as well for everyone else. Everyone who is waiting for her return, looking for her. If she was to become Otis, then everyone else would have to forget about her as well. So I do like how she's trying to lose her humanity, but at the same time keeping it in a sense. So this segment of the episode where we get a little bit of backstory for Yumu and her time away from the crew, I think this part of the episode was great for many reasons. Seeing how CPU got created and why he was just wandering around the dark matter zone. Learning why CPT was always very aggressive and seemingly double-crossed our heroes when in reality she was created on purpose to keep watch on our heroes. As well as the fact is why CPT had a liking for Yumu's glasses. Now this was a big connection that I don't think anyone actually picked up the hint of that links the Dark Empire to CPT before obviously her ultimate betrayal. Now then, the whole explanation for Yumu becoming the Dark Meister and getting her powers, this was very sudden and confusing. And they didn't explain it at all, and I actually really like this. I think it was very smart of them to do. As like Yumu said within the episode, she was giving them freebies, but she wasn't going to tell them everything. She needs to keep some of her knowledge and experiences to herself, because some of these things can be very detrimental to unraveling her plans later on. Like if she explains how she obtained her powers, then that gives our heroes a way to counteract those powers, in a sense. Yumu's summoning chant for Dark Matter Galaxy Dragon was perfect, in reflecting her time with Yugioh and showing off her resolve. The doubts that she has, she'll overcome, as her ideals outweigh them. Her weaknesses can be turned into her strengths, and her defeatism showcases determination, and means that she won't stop even if she's defeated. Kind of like what we saw at the end of this episode. She loses the battle, but overall she seems like the victor and comes out pretty much better off than our heroes. Now on that note, I want to talk about the ending. After all, seeing our heroes win the battle yet losing the war, so to speak, was brilliant, and I like the direction we seem to be heading towards, as the Dark Matter Empire are heading towards Earth. Finally, we get to see other characters back in action after so long of not seeing them. Yuki is going with Yumu. Now this was a great twist, as it could lead to him embracing the title of Otis, or it could further his desire to bring Yumu back to the side of light. I do think we will get to see Yuki versus Yumu in the future, and we could also have a fun partnership between Yuki and Yugioh teaming up to try and put a stop to all of this. So ultimately, Yugioh is still a factor in this because he would want the Vulgarian race to return, yet he's still tied down to his oath to the Dark Meister. Another element to Yuki leaving is having a reverse situation of the ending of Season 1, to where Yudias left Yuki alone, and this time Yuki is the one leaving Yudias behind. And this just feels a little bit kind of sweet in terms of revenge, but I know it wasn't meant to be portrayed like that. Now, stepping a few more minutes back within the episode from the ending, with Kaido winning this duel in Udias' place, it does still leave the question of who's stronger between Udias and Yumu, making Yuki and Yugioh's choice to remain/join the Dark Matter Empire for power, or to look for a weakness even more understandable. So yeah, this was a great ending to the arc, and I don't think they could have done it any better, because it leaves quite a few questions, yet still answers quite a few of the ones that we had. And it's just exciting and fun at the end of the day, which is what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is meant to be. Oh, and if you're wondering how Yudias, Park and the others will return, well, Yugioh's ship is still there. They've got udon, they've got curry bread, a shooting machine, and Yuga's workshop, so plenty of resources. However, I would like it if we have a bit of time to allow the characters still on Earth to shine first. It would be a cool situation if we saw Danamu just suddenly multiply on the ship as Udias' crew heads back to Earth, because that would indicate that A, the Dark Empire have reached Earth, and B, there is a battle going on between Earth and the Dark Matter Empire, and it gives them a little bit more urgency to get back. But yes, I do want that bit of breathing room to where we allow other characters to shine more first. So yeah, overall I loved this episode from start to finish. The expressions, the emotion, the voice acting, everything blended together perfectly. The animation was flawless and the music was brilliant in building up tension and hype. The new monsters were awesome to see as well, and I love the fact that Darkness Galactica Oblivion returned. Kaido, okay, sure, but I do like the idea now that we have the situation where Kaido can still come back and take over for a limited time. Kind of like, well, no, it's a bit different from the Yubao and Judai situation. Yeah, it's a little bit similar. But anyways, yeah, I like this ending. I loved how it showcases Yumu's 100% commitment to the cause of becoming Otis. And that line about the reason why dark matter exists, to create structure, and how she's going to use that to create structure so Yuga's future can be good. Great, love that. So let me know your thoughts on this episode in the comments down below. I know this review has been a bit longer than my other reviews, but there was so much fun things to talk about. Can't wait to see your thoughts and get your ideas in the comments down below. Have a great day. Alligator, matane, goodbye.